We go all over the map this week. We've got 2-hour-long dramas, one of them sports-related, one of them sci-fi. We've got a kids show, a family show, a sitcom reboot, and a reality show looking at the future of food. Let's talk TV. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews. Welcome to TV news and reviews for the week. Welcome into my channel. Thank you for finding this video. Please consider subscribing down below there. We'd love to have you aboard. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. I'm not sure if we'll reach that milestone, but get as close as we can. So if you are not subscribed yet, would love to have you aboard. But let's get into this week's TV news and reviews. Like I said up front, we have sort of a really wide range of shows this week. We've got a couple of hour-long dramas on Apple Plus called Invasion and Swagger. We've got a sitcom reboot in Head of the Class on HBO Max, and then a couple shows for the family, Maya and the Three, and Hello Jack, the Kindness Show, and then also a reality show looking at the future of food, sort of a docu-series, if you will, called The Next Thing You Eat. So we're going to get to all of those, but first, a bunch of things in the news this week, so let's dive into that. Squid Game has not officially been renewed for Season 2, but it is all but confirmed at Netflix. The show creator of Squid Game says that Jihan is going to be back, and he will do something for the world, and Season 2 is coming. So that's not official from Netflix, but that's what the creator has said. So I would say that's all but a go, and why wouldn't it be? It is Netflix's and really all of streaming's most successful show of all time to this point. So obviously, if they're able to bring it back, they will. So speaking of Netflix, Crime Scene has been renewed actually for 3 more seasons. 2, 3, and 4 are all coming. It comes 9 months after Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel debuted on Netflix. I did not review it. I'm a little hit or miss with the nonfiction type stuff. If something is really popping and I see it in Netflix's top 10 for a couple of weeks, maybe we'll tackle it. But, you know, I did not review this. I don't do a ton of the true crime stuff. But the Times Square Killer is going to be for Season 2. And that will premiere on December 29th. And then the topics for Season 3 and 4 have not been announced yet. But that's what we know for now about that. If you're into the crime scene and the true crime stuff, maybe you'll like that. What If is renewed for Season 2 on Disney. Not a ton to talk about there. I did review it. It was okay. Certainly it's not really canon to the MCU because they're basically taking the stories and putting it on their ear and saying, well, what if this happened instead of this? So it was fun, but, you know, not a must-see for the Marvel, universe. And then the final renewer this week, this made me happy. La Brea is coming back for Season 2 on NBC. I always am leery of starting and following these sort of sci-fi fantasy evening shows on major networks because I just have been burned so many times. They get canceled after the first season. So I did watch the first 2 episodes of La Brea so I could review it for you guys, but I sort of shied away from it. Maybe I'll catch up at some point, but now it's coming back for Season 2. This is the first freshman show on any of the major networks to be picked up. So that's encouraging. The show averages about 7.9 million viewers per episode. That includes the 7 days delayed viewing. And it also leads all first-year network series in the 18 to 49 demo. So that's big stuff. So I'm glad to see that. A couple of shows ending. Search Party is done at HBO Max when the 5th season drops on January 7th. It's going to give us all 10 episodes at once. This is a show that started on TBS 2016, 2017, and then took like 3 years off. And then Season 3 debuted on HBO Max in May of 2020. Or maybe not May, but sometime I think in the summer. And then Season 4 after that, and then Season 5 will premiere in January, and that will be it. This is a show I never got into, but the few people I know that watch it really enjoy it, so maybe once it wraps up, I'll take a deep dive into that. And then Brian Williams is leaving NBC News after almost 30 years, and this is not necessarily a series ending, but he does host the 11 p.m. hour on MSNBC called The 11th Hour. So that show basically will probably find a new host. But yeah, Brian Williams, obviously, he's got a little bit of a tumultuous career with the scandal a few years ago of, making some things up in his newscasts and embellishing some things. Can't really do that as a newscaster, so he was put on leave for a while and then eventually relegated to MSNBC. But he used to be a pretty trusted name in news, so it's unfortunate. But yeah, he'll be leaving NBC News after almost 30 years. All right, now let's focus on some things going on with the new television season. Listen to this. So the 2-episode Yellowstone premiere. Now, this is a show on Paramount Network, and Kevin Costner stars in it, and it is literally the biggest show on television right now. So listen to this. 8.12 million viewers over the 2-hour premiere, which set an all-time high for not only the series, but Paramount Network as a whole. They've never had anything like that. The series' previous best was 5.16 million. So, I mean, it skipped up, didn't quite double, but it skipped up by 3 million viewers. And that 5.16 was for the season 3 finale in August of last year. But obviously, all these old episodes now are available on Paramount Plus, so people that missed, or maybe it's on Peacock, because they own, I forget what the story is with all of this. I think it's on Paramount Plus. I get a little confused sometimes with the different streamers, but I can't see why it wouldn't be on Paramount Plus. But anyway, people have had the chance to catch up with the old episodes of Yellowstone. And so there you go. So it set series highs among adults 18 to 49. Episode 1 drew 8.38 million viewers, which is the second largest audience for an entertainment series on any broadcast or cable for the whole season, behind the season premiere of the new NCIS reboot. And then the second episode just dipped a little bit. But listen to this. So then over 3 days, they do the 3-day and then they do the 7-day with all the delayed viewing. Over 3 days, the 2-hour premiere hit 14.7 million viewers. Now, it was simulcast over CMT, Pop, and TV Land. But that hit the show above NBC's Sunday Night Football. Football is usually the highest rated thing on television. But so Yellowstone has beaten that after 3 days. So it's insane. The show is just so huge. I've not yet seen it. I know my brother and sister-in-law love it. Huge fans. So yeah, something for sure I will have to check out eventually. I mean, it's all the rage. So yeah, if you're a Yellowstone fan, great news for you. That is just, skyrocketing through the roof with the ratings. All right. Over on Netflix here, we have SNL regular Kyle Mooney is going to have a cartoon show there, sort of a hybrid mix. It's going to be Mooney and this guy Ben Jones from the Bento Box animation. They're going to do this thing called Saturday Morning All-Star Hits. So usually Kyle does Saturday Night Live. This is Saturday morning. It's going to be a send-up of 80s and 90s kids' Saturday morning cartoons and other television shows like Saved by the Bell. So it's going to be a hybrid of live action and animation. It's going to premiere December 10th. It's described as wildly irreverent and slightly disturbing, which makes sense if you know Kyle Mooney's brand. And there's going to be live action segments in which Mooney plays a set of twins watching the Saturday morning cartoons. They're like hosting a Saturday morning roundup kind of thing. So I guess we'll see the live stuff, and then interspersed we'll see like 10 or 15 minute clips, I guess, of the parodies. So could be very interesting. All right, then we've got Fatal Attraction coming back. I guess I could have put this under reboots and sequels. We have no reboots to talk about this week, so this could be under there. But Fatal Attraction is coming to Paramount Plus. Lizzie Kaplan is going to star in this. We just talked about her last week or the week before in something. I can't remember. Oh, she's the voice in the Netflix Inside Job cartoon. I always think she does a good job, but she's going to star in the Fatal Attraction remake. Now, the Paramount Plus streamer is really beefing up their remake slate from old movies into television shows. They're looking at an Italian Job show. They're looking at a Flashdance TV show. Those are all just at the beginning stages. But Fox had a remake attempt at Fatal Attraction a few years ago as a limited series, but it never got beyond just making the script for that. And then Disney Plus had a little bit of a Disney Day celebration press conference last week, and they've announced that X-Men 97 is coming, which is going to be basically a continuation of the storyline and the 1990s animated X-Men series, which was, one of the biggest things at the time. It was so heavily praised by critics, and of course fans loved it as well. And it was like a serialized, cartoon, which we didn't get a lot of, in the after-school market. But that will be hopefully coming soon then, X-Men 97. And then you've got Spider-Man Freshman Year coming to Disney Plus. That's going to be an animated show exploring Peter Parker on his way to becoming Spider-Man. Or, talk about a real origin story. I guess it's before he's even bit by the spider, I suppose. And then what else? Marvel Zombies as well. That's going to be from director Brian Andrews. It reimagines the Marvel Universe as a new generation of heroes fights a zombie plague. Look, I understand Disney has all of these properties, Star Wars, Marvel, I get it. But at some point, it really is just too much. We can just put the brakes on some of these things. I haven't watched the Eternals yet, but I've not heard anybody say good things about it. I know three different people that have seen it, and they all were like, yeah, it's real bad. So look, at some point, I think you're going to run out of steam. You're going to run out of storylines. You're going to run out of characters to develop. So whatever. But now I guess they're going to be fighting the zombies. And all of these are slated for 2023. So they're going to be working on these for the next year or so. All right. In casting news, Annie Live. We keep talking about Annie Live coming to NBC in December. Jane Krakowski is out. She has stepped aside from the musical because she came down with COVID-19 while working on it says a separate project in Ireland. I'm not sure if that is season 2 of Name That Tune or not. But I think they were filming Name That Tune in Australia, not Ireland. But in any event, so she's got the COVID. So Megan Hilty from the old musical TV show Smash is going to step in as Lily St. Regis, and that will be on NBC December 2nd. And then Apple TV's The Last Thing He Told Me, that has a cast change as well. Julia Roberts is out due to some scheduling conflicts there. Jennifer Garner will take over the lead role. And that is based on Laura Dave's novel. Don't know really much about it, but it follows a woman who's played now by Garner, who forms an unexpected relationship with her 16-year-old stepdaughter while searching for the truth about why her husband mysteriously disappeared. And Garner is also going to be an executive producer of the show, which comes from Reese Witherspoon's production company. So I find it a little bit of an odd choice. I mean, Julia Roberts still looks great, of course, but she is a good, probably 20 years older than Jennifer Garner. So I'm not sure how that's going to inform the story maybe a little bit differently. We'll see. And then a couple of odds and ends for you before we get to the reviews. NBC has announced their mid-season slate. It starts January 4th, and that will include the return of This Is Us for its final season. We're going to have double episodes of Kenan to finish off the season before the Olympics even start. So for like 6 or 7 weeks, we're just going to be bombarded with double Kenans, and then the Olympics. And then Young Rock and Mr. Mayor will take over the Tuesday slot after the Olympics. And then Law & Order Season 21 is going to air Thursdays at 8, starting after the Olympics, which runs in February. So I guess NBC has officially now given up on their comedy on Thursday. They were, of course, the big cornerstone in the 80s, 90s, and even the first probably half of the 2000s. And then CBS started chipping away at it with Survivor. ABC started chipping away at it with Grey's Anatomy. And then CBS brought some of their comedies over. Big Bang Theory was Thursday night long-termer. And NBC kept trying on Thursdays. They put The Office and 30 Rock on. They put Superstore on. They did The Return of Will and Grace. But, they've decided, I guess, to give up on comedy on Thursdays. And I guess this fall, NBC had no comedies at all, which is the first time that's ever happened on NBC, I think, in its history, that the fall lineup had no comedy. So I don't know actually what they're showing on Thursdays now. I know 9 o'clock is Law & Order SVU, and then 10 o'clock is the new Law & Order with the return of Christopher Maloney. I don't know what they run at 8 o'clock now, but it's going to be the season 21 of Law & Order. So they've got their Chicago night Wednesday, Chicago Med, Fire, and PD, and then Thursday will be the all Law & Order night, which, by the way, both franchises are Dick Wolf. So Dick Wolf is going to own Wednesdays on NBC and Thursdays, and then he also does the FBI shows over on CBS. I don't know what night that airs. So yeah, talk about prolific. All right, so there you go with that. And then the final odds and ends for you. Sesame Street is going to debut an Asian American Muppet, their very first, called Ji Young. And they're doing a special where they're going to premiere her. It's called See Us Coming Together, a Sesame Street special. It's going to air Thanksgiving Day on HBO Max, all over Sesame Street's YouTube and Facebook, and then also on local PBS stations. And it's going to feature Simu Liu from Shang-Chi. It's going to feature Padma Lakshmi, among other celebrities. So yeah, love Sesame Street, love their diversity. It's funny, like when I was a kid, I always thought of Sesame Street as very diverse because I never really thought of the Muppets themselves as any sort of race. Really, they were all just Muppets, and they were all different colors anyway. But the adults, they had Luis and Maria, who were Spanish. They had Gordon, who was black. So the adults is really where I got the messages of diversity, because the Muppets were all just the same race to me. They were just the race of Muppets, So I do think it's interesting. I don't know what the makeup looks like now of the adult characters. I know last time I saw it about 6 or 7 years ago, there was, a 20-something black guy running the old Mr. Hooper store. But I think some of the old people from my day were still on like 5 or 6 years ago, but I know they've been since let go. That was kind of a big deal a few years back. But anyway, that's all I got in the news. Let's move into the reviews. Like I said up front, we have 6 very, very different shows to talk about this week. But the first 2 come to us on Apple TV+. Invasion, we're going to start there. And this is a sci-fi show with a very diverse cast. Most of which I don't know. Sam Neill is the only person I really recognize in this. But this takes place during an alien invasion, and it's seen through the lens of various different continents across the world. So we get a lot of different perspectives on this alien invasion. And so for these types of shows, I usually do try to watch at least 2, maybe 3 if they put up 3 at once, and Apple TV always puts up 3 to begin with and then 1 a week. So there were 3 out there. I watched the first one, though, and it was severely underwhelming. And so my buddy Tim and I were talking about it. Tim comes on this channel from time to time, and he watched at least the second one. I don't know if he watched all 3, but he was like, yeah, it doesn't get any better. Something happens at the end of the first episode that I won't go into. And I sort of thought that they would pick up with that. And he was like, yeah, they don't touch on that at all, the other 2 episodes. Like, it's just kind of out there in the wind. The problem with this show is that they're taking a sort of like This Is Us approach to an alien invasion. So we're learning all these different stories from different perspectives. And I don't think, at least at this point, that any of the stories converge. Like, maybe as the season goes on, we'll get that. But from that first episode, the alien invasion is so much in the background. It's all about these people, and let's get to know the characters. But then there's so many of them to sort of get to know. They only get like 5, 6, 7 minutes each, and then we're on to the next. And how are people in Africa handling this? And it's just none of it really gelled together for me. And I understand that they want to do some kind, at least it seems like they want to do some kind of a slow burn, like let's build up to the big invasion. And all right, maybe in a 10-episode series, you can do that certainly a little more than you can with a movie, but you need to get to the meat and potatoes of the actual plot line in the first episode at some point. Even if it's at the very end of the episode, it still needs to be there somewhere. Yeah, okay, there's an alien invasion. We just get so little of that. And I was going to watch episodes 2 and 3, but once I spoke with Tim, and he was like, you know what, it just doesn't get any better. And I trust his judgment on that. So I ended up just sticking with that pilot episode, and it's not good. The acting is okay, but I wouldn't say it's anything above and beyond here. Also, I thought the lighting was a bit dim. I had a little bit of a hard time, depending on what scene they were going for, what actor's perspective, what characters they were looking at. I thought some of the lighting was kind of poor. So I didn't like that either. We're, hearing things, but we can barely see anything. And it's not really a horror show, it's a sci-fi show. So I'm not sure if that really fit either. So overall, this one's just kind of a dud for me. I'm going to leave Invasion with a D+. So let's move on to Swagger. Now, this one I did watch the first two of. It's also on Apple TV Plus, and this is a sports drama. As a non-sports fan, I love a sports drama for some reason. Friday Night Lights, one of my favorite shows ever. But this is called Swagger. It explores the world here of youth basketball. That's sort of the hook, and their families and coaches who are trying to walk the line to help these kids out, but also make their teams the best that they can be. So O'Shea Jackson Jr. Stars as the coach, who's sort of retired, I guess, or maybe just does coaching a little bit on the side. But this mom finds him at his full-time job at this hardware store and convinces him to let his son play on the team. And the son is Isaiah Hill. He plays Jace, and he's basically this hot superstar in the making. National publications are sort of looking at him as, okay, one of the next big basketball stars. And as a high school kid, they don't usually do that. Every so often, of course, Kobe was one of them. But here, he's sort of bouncing around from team to team because he can't really find a good balance of what he wants and what's good for the team. So him and his mom are sort of at their wits' end here. And Quvenzhané Wallace is here. Good old Annie, when they did the black version of Annie, and then also the little girl from Beasts of the Southern Wild, who was, I think, Oscar nominated when she was like 13 or 14. But yeah, she did the reboot of Annie with Cameron Diaz 6 years ago or something. That was really one of the last things I remember seeing her in. I don't know if she sort of stopped acting for a few years to focus on school, but she plays one of Jace's school chums here. Possible love interest down the line, maybe. But boy, this one, total opposite of Invasion. I enjoyed the heck out of this show. I think O'Shea Jackson Jr. is still trying to find his niche from being under his father's shadow, who was Ice Cube, and he played Ice Cube in the Compton movie, but I think he's still trying to sort of find what works for him as an actor, because he's done a bunch of different kind of roles, and he was doing like sort of comedy for a little bit. He was in that Seth Rogen movie, The Long Shot, but I'm not sure if he's found it yet, but I think this is probably the closest he's come yet to what I find to be like an authentic performance, other than Straight Outta Compton. But he was basically just sort of doing an impression of his dad, and he certainly looked the part, so that makes sense. But here, I think he really is sort of making this character his own, and I liked that about him. He's got that sort of Ice Cube, gruff exterior, but I'm really gonna fight for you on my team or whatever. And I love the gruff coach. That's one of my favorite sort of tropes in these sports dramas. Certainly Kyle Chandler had it in Friday Night Lights. We did just see a coach basketball show on Disney Plus with Big Shot, or Big Shots, I forget, but and I watched that whole thing. That was one of the ones I kept up with weekly, and I watched the whole thing. Marvin Korn, played by John Stamos. So yeah, we're treading on some ground. Not that that was wholly original either, but I think this show will sort of live and die based on how the characters develop. And so far, I'm definitely enjoying it. I like what I'm seeing. I like sort of delving into these characters. The first episode probably had a little too much basketball for my taste. I like it when there's more of a drama ratio and not so much with the basketball. I like it to be kind of like an 80-20 between the drama and then the sports. This was a little bit closer to 70-30 or maybe even a little less with that. But that's fine. If you're a sports fan, you'll dig that part more than I will. I will admit that the scenes are shot pretty well, the basketball scenes. So I liked that part of it too. And this newcomer here, Isaiah Hill, he doesn't do a bad job either. Sort of the punk kid, So overall, this one was not bad for me. I enjoyed Swagger. I'm going to leave it with a B+. All right, we head next to HBO Max for the Head of the Class reboot. Now, this is a show that I really was sort of surprised they rebooted at all. It doesn't run in syndication anymore. It hasn't run on TV. Maybe it runs on one of those like Antenna TV or Me TV. It might run somewhere there, um, but I have not seen the original Head of the Class on TV in well over 20 years, I'm sure. I do have the first two seasons on DVD, but that's it, really. So it seemed like an odd choice to be rebooted by Warner Brothers, but here we are, and they've plucked Isabella Gomez, who was the daughter in One Day at a Time, that reboot. They've plucked her to be the spunky new teacher. Now, in the original, the teacher was a little bit, older and more grizzled. He was played by Howard Hessman in his mid to late 40s, probably. But here, this is, this young gal, first year teacher, and she comes in originally as a sub, but then becomes the permanent teacher of the honors debate class at the high school. And then all the kids, just like in the original, are no names. But like the original, a lot of diversity. The original, when I think back, for a late 80s sitcom, had probably the most diversity of any show I can think of, for a sitcom, because the makeup of the kids was all over the map. And here we get that again, of course. The only other name you might recognize is Krista Miller, plays the principal here, who was on Scrubs, and she was on Cougar Town, the Drew Carey show back in the day. So she's been around the sitcom world. I hated this show. I keep my my mind open for reboots. I really do. And in fact, I like a lot of them. I think The Connors is one of the best shows on television, which of course sparked from Roseanne season 10. I love the Will and Grace reboot. There's a lot of shows that I really enjoy the reboots of. This is not one of them. I have a lot of problems with it. For one thing, none of it makes any sense. So in the original, Howard Hessman played a history teacher. So he had one honors class, and that's sort of what we focused our episodes on. But he taught other classes through the day. As far as I know, this gal only teaches debate honors. That's one class a day, so that doesn't make any sense. And then she also is really trying to be hip and be one of the kids. So she starts joining them on their Twitch streams and following them on Facebook and all this stuff that you can't do as a teacher in 2021. So that just doesn't make sense, number one. Number two, it's not funny. I didn't really laugh at all. Number three, this is a show whose entire purpose seems to be let's talk about woke topics of the day. We're going to be woke. And because she's teaching a debate class, of course, the debates are always, these issues of the day, and there's, the one white, preppy kid who's sort of like the villain of the class, and then everybody else kind of hates him, and it's so obvious. But literally the third or fourth entire line of the series is, the kid's acting like an idiot, the boy, and the one girl looks at the other girl and says, can you believe he's going to make, 27% more than us because he's a man, or whatever. So right away I was like, okay, so we're just diving right in. We're not going to be subtle about any of this. And it's fine. I don't mind shows that are woke. In fact, speaking of reboots, the Party of Five reboot, it was only on for a season. Freeform canceled it, but it was all about this Latinx family who their parents, instead of the original Party of Five where the parents were killed in a car crash, here the parents get deported. And so they have to, figure that out and figure out the family restaurant, just the five of them. I loved that. I certainly don't mind a woke show, but this is just driving the nail home with zero subtlety and really zero comedy. Now, I will say the one positive I have about it is I do like the interaction between Isabella Gomez and the principal, Krista Miller. I think they have some funny back and forths, some funny barbs. But even the principal is stalking the kids on Instagram and all this stuff. It's so, for a show that claims, maybe they don't claim to be, but wearing their wokeness on their sleeve, it's just odd that they just are completely eschewing any actual, sanity in their plot line. So this was a real miss for me. It's unfortunate. I give Head of the Class 2021 a D. All right, so let's move on here. We've got three more shows, and this is sort of all over the place, more, family friendly and or sort of reality kind of stuff. Let's talk about Maya and the Three. This is on Netflix currently, and this is supposedly a one-off. It's a limited series, but I don't know. It's getting really great reviews. And the week of Day of the Dead, it was in the top 10 on Netflix. So I don't know if it will come back. I don't know how it ends. I only watched the first three, so I'm not sure. But this one boasts a pretty big cast of Latin people. You've got Diego Luna, Gabriel Iglesias, Zoe Saldana, Gail Garcia Bernal, Rita Moreno. We love her. Stephanie Beatriz from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and she was in the Heights this summer. Danny Trejo, Cheech Marin, Rosie Perez. Everybody and anybody that has some Latin roots that's currently a hot actor or actress, they are in this thing. And I can see why they were drawn to it, because it's really good. So it's set in pre-colonial Mesoamerica, and other, indigenous cultures are populating the world here. Maya, who is a warrior princess, she's voiced by, of course, Zoe Saldana. You have to have her as your head. She turns 15, but the underworld gods are appearing and announce that she has to pay for her family's misdeeds. So she needs to figure out what that means, and do we need to go to war, and what's going on. The world's going to be ravaged by gods if she refuses them. So she has to figure out how to fulfill this prophecy and help her and her family out. So this animation style, and I'm not sure what you'd even call it. I don't know if it has a specific name, but a lot of Mexican and Latin, maybe not even productions, but if you're focusing on Latin characters, they seem to have this animation style. Coco, The Book of Life, any Day of the Dead thing, but it's not even just Day of the Dead specific. Like, these characters, just in their, everyday faces, not Day of the Dead stuff, have the same look as a Coco or Book of Life, and it's a really great animation style. I love it. It's something a little bit different, but it's not so off-putting. Like, we see a lot of, more unique styles of animation. Like Wolf Walkers is one, and it's, from Ireland, and they've done, a handful of, the Book of the Kells was one of them. And that, to me, is very different, and it's unique, but I don't really care for it. It's a bit off-putting to me. But this just visually is so engaging. The companies that are involved here are Mexopolis, and Netflix Animation and Tangent Animation. So Mexopolis, obviously, I don't know if they're an animation company, though. It sounds like Tangent and Netflix are the animation studios. Neither of those are specifically Latino, but they've really captured all of this world and the characters within. I thought this was a really well done show. You could see why it attracted all of these big names to it. And then Maya is a great character. Now, I don't know if I love the name just because we had Raya earlier this year, Raya and the Last Dragon. So I don't know if this is based on an existing property. So, like, it had to be Maya because that's, the name of the warrior as we know her. I don't know, but I think I would have changed the name a little bit because we just had, Raya on her own quest, and that was obviously a more, Asian story. This is more Latinx story. I get it, but it's a little too close for comfort there. But the voice work is good. The animation is gorgeous. The world building I really like. So I'm sort of bummed if they're only going to make it a limited series, but sometimes that can be the best. You don't want to overstay your welcome, I guess. But I really enjoyed Maya and the Three. It gets an A- from me. So let's go over to Apple TV Plus for the next, or I'm sorry, this is on Hulu. The Next Thing You Eat. And this is a docuseries about food, and specifically about the future of food and where food is going in a post-COVID world. David Chang, who is a world-renowned chef, is the host here, and he's brought a bunch of his buddies along. Each different episode gives us, sort of a different, set of celebrities. There's one guy that sticks with him through, I haven't seen him in all the shows, but I've seen 4 of the episodes of the 6 so far. I was going to actually try and watch all 6. Sometimes if it's a short, schedule like that, and 6 half-hour shows I can kind of bang out. But time-wise, I only fit in 4. But it's a really interesting show. I don't consider myself a foodie, but I do love to try new things when I go out to a restaurant that I've never been to, or if I'm in a new city, I love to experience local cuisine and try to, live like a local and eat like a local, that kind of thing. So to hear this kind of stuff is intriguing, and of course, don't watch it on an empty stomach. Everything looks amazing. But like the first episode, for example, they're talking about the delivery services and how robots are starting to take that over, and how, years before COVID, one of Chang's restaurants was trying to do delivery and it just didn't take because the food, wouldn't really still be good by the time they got there, and that kind of thing. Second episode was about cows and farming and the sustainability issue with that. Third episode was about COVID itself and how so many restaurants got shut down, and the bigger problem of, why did this happen? That they were pretty much working on raised within margins anyway, and working on a not sustainable, system of, payment for the waiters and waitresses and kitchen staff and all that. So it's a really interesting show. I think I would have probably been more invested in it if I was in that industry, or if I was more of a foodie. But I like David Chang. He is an okay presenter. I don't think he's, top line here, but you can feel his enthusiasm when he's eating something new or trying something. So in that respect, it's pretty great. They don't really have a ton of answers, though. Like in the farming episode, they do say, okay, well, even if, people that eat meat, 7 days a week can cut back by 2 days or 3 days, that makes a world of difference. So, they're offering a little bit, here and there of like things you can do, which I sort of liked. But for long-term solutions, I think a lot of the episodes were kind of like up in the air, like, well, we don't know what to do right now. We'll have to see, what comes to us. But it's very much a show in the now. We're talking about food and food manufacturing and sales in 2020, 2021, the COVID era. So, it's called The Next Thing You Eat because we're looking towards the future and to see, what we're going to be doing. But I like the guest that he had on. I think it's a fun show overall. Again, don't watch it on an empty stomach, because you're going to want to go buy all the things and support a lot of these local businesses. But we'll leave it there. When I do these docuseries that are sort of more fluffy, I don't spend too much time on them. So I leave The Next Thing You Eat with a B. And then finally, we've got Hello, Jack, the kindness show, and this isn't going to be a long one either. Very quick, actually, because this is an elementary school show, which I usually don't do anymore, but it stars Jack McBrayer from 30 Rock and Conan, and I just love Jack McBrayer, so I thought, I got to check this thing out, and his whole thing is sort of this, innocent, sort of backwoods kind of persona, and he did it on Conan. He did it on 30 Rock as, oh boy, I love that show too. Was his name just Jack on that? I forget now. But anyway, Kenneth the Page. Yes, of course. But it really is just him. And Conan has said this in many interviews. Tina Fey has said this. Alec Baldwin has said this. This is just who Jack is. He is just a simple farm guy, and he is just happy all the time, and he's happy-go-lucky. So this is called Hello, Jack, the Kindness Show, and basically it's a show for kids about how doing one kind thing can sort of snowball effect into the world being a kinder, gentler place. I think this rips its pages right from the Mr. Rogers playbook. We even meet a mailman in the first episode. But This is a message that we can all use right now. I think, look, a lot of the kid shows obviously are dealing with let's be kind to one another, be kind to ourselves, be kind to each other, that kind of thing. But the entire purpose of this show is to be kind and to think about others. And I think that's a great message for preschoolers. So again, we don't need to dwell too much on this. I don't think the people that come to me for TV reviews are going to seek this out necessarily. But some of you might have kids in that sort of preschool age. And I think Jack is the perfect host for this kind of show. I think this is going to hit that sweet spot. It's not very original. Again, a lot of the Mr. Rogers effect is certainly at play here. But I enjoyed the heck out of this. It's hard not to like Jack McBrayer. So I leave Hello, Jack with a B+. All right, so that's going to do it. I know the last couple we just sort of breeze through. I do that sometimes. But next week we have some heavy hitters. The return of Dexter. We're going to talk about that. Big deal there. And I don't know what else is out. I know Tim just mentioned to me some new show is out, some sci-fi show. So I'll check that out. And I think there's a big one coming to Amazon too. Window of Time, maybe. Oh, and the Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell show on Apple TV Plus. So all of these premiered within the last 5 or 6 days. So we'll get to all of that probably next week, among maybe a couple other shows. But thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.